connecting Indigenous musicians and artists to the world. Welcome to Indigenous Superstars with your host, Rhonda Head.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to show 77. So I'm really excited to have my show tonight. I have a really awesome guest as usual. So I can't wait for him to share his music with you. I have a few things that I want to talk about before I bring on my 77th guest. I just want to give a shout out and to let the people know that today is wear your red dress today, or May 5th, or wear red today, and that's why I'm wearing red. Yeah. And that's a picture of the Big Nail Bridge that myself, Pauline Valentine, Janet Head, and Jennifer Flett, we started tying ribbons on the bridge in the Pas in Opaskwayak, and I showed this photograph, or I showed a video, and then the video went viral, and it just created a movement right across Turtle Island and into Australia and New Zealand. So it was really, and those ribbons represent the missing and murdered Indigenous women. So me and my sister are huge advocates for this movement, and it's not about us; it's about the families and the women who have gone missing, and we create that awareness to the public to let them know that this issue has been going on for a long time in the Indigenous community. So I want to give a big shout out to the people who participate in creating awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous, not only here in Canada, but United States and throughout the world. The other announcement I have is I'm hosting a talent show tomorrow, live music talent show fundraiser in conjunction with Clear Sky Connections and Youth ICT fundraiser, and I believe it's initiative. So the show is tomorrow. They're currently taking registrations right now from youth 13 to 30 years old. There is a fee, a $25 fee to enter, and the monies that are raised from this fundraiser goes to feeding the homeless in Winnipeg, and three qualified youth already moved forward to the finale on June 2nd. And tomorrow night, another three will move on to the finale on June 2nd, where they'll have a chance to win $1,000, and they'll be singing one of their best songs again. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow and support the youth. And if you know of any youth out there that want to be part of this talent show, contact Maggie Moose. Her information is on the poster there. And the other announcement that I have that I've been talking about for about a month now is that I'm hosting a Indigenous Superstars Music Award. So I'm just going to play the video too.
It's an evening of celebration as the inaugural Indigenous Superstars Music Awards 2021 features 26 categories and the chance to take home top honor of the year. This awards ceremony will increase awareness of a songwriter's craft and gain recognition online and through promotion. The show will be streamed live on Indigenous Superstars and Frog Radio, with an announcement coming soon on the date of our awards celebration. To register your songs or single, they must have been released and distributed on Spotify between January 1st, 2019 and July 31st, 2021 at midnight. Entries for submissions are already underway. For all the details and to see the list of 26 categories, plus hear artist song entries, please visit our website at indigenousuperstars.com.
So that's my exciting news that I have that I announced I've been announcing it now for about a month, and artists are already submitting their songs and registering. So please register, and the show is going to be virtual this year, and hopefully next year, if COVID is gone from the earth, that we'll have it the physical show in a Pasquia Cree Nation. And right now I'm in talks with my committee on whether if we're going to move it around Canada or leave it in a Pasquia Cree Nation for now. But that's my exciting news. And I want to say hi to Kim from Kansas. Thank you for tuning in again. I'm always happy to see you tuning in. I'm just posting her. So I have a really awesome guest tonight, and I'm just going to read his bio. Anishinaabe MC, singer, songwriter, Leonard Sumner's storytelling flows directly from the shores of Little Saskatchewan First Nation, located in the heart of the Interlake of Manitoba. Sumner's self-determined sound is evidence of his ability to simultaneously occupy landscapes of multiple musical genres, including hip-hop, spoken word, country, and rhythm and blues. With every vibration of the strings on his guitar, Leonard rattles that dust off truths that have been buried for far too long. On stage, he poetically sings awake the consciousness of the audience may have been unaware of their slumber. In this era of unsettling history and healing wounds of the past, Sumner's music is an expression of medicine that walks the line between fortitude and fragility. Please welcome my guest show 77, Leonard Sumner. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good considered we're in the age of COVID-19. Going on past a year now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surviving. I'm keeping busy, as you could tell. I'm doing the award show, and I'm doing this show. Here, this is my 77th show, and I'm really excited that when I reached out to you, that you agreed to be interviewed.
Oh yeah, for sure. I haven't seen the show at all. This, with the new baby, it's kind of hard to keep up with anything after 7 p.m.
That's right. Congratulations on the birth of your daughter, and she's so awesome. I love seeing the post that you and your wife post of her. She is so adorable. She's so sweet.
Yeah, she's just so smart and just the light of our life, and like the gift and the curse. We got our baby March 3rd, 2020. She was born, and then like a week later, everything started shutting down. And we've kind of just been with her for over the past year, and it's been unfortunate that we haven't had the ability to celebrate with gatherings or powwows or go to these kind of things, events. But at the same time, it's been really nice to be home with her this whole time. Like just watch her grow every day, and it's just amazing to watch how fast they grow and they become just little people.
That's so awesome, and it's a blessing in disguise, right? To be with your baby all year and watch her grow from a baby to a toddler.
Well,
That,
I have a hard time going to the store or going for some Starbucks. You know what I mean? Without feeling guilty for leaving her for like 15 minutes. I can't imagine what like 2 weeks on the road would look like.
right? Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm so happy for you and you and Tasha. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions before we get into your first song. I just wanted to ask what inspired you to get into music?
I think what inspired me was just I had a talent for it. I used to sing at a lot of Treaty Day talent shows. I would sing karaoke contests, and like I really just loved being on stage and singing. Like it was just it felt good to express myself in a way other than like sports, which was like one of the only options on the reserve was like you played sports or people partied or stuff like that. Like, and I still go to the party with music and stuff like that, but that's what made me feel good when I was living on the res. And then like people recognized the gift in me before I recognized it. And I'd always be there, and they're like, "You're gonna make it, man. You're gonna do something." And I'd be like, "I don't even know what that means." But now that I've like toured the world and made a career in music, I kind of like look back at that time and see that uh, people from my community recognized the gift that I had long before I did, and it's really interesting, like having some time to sit and reflect on that, especially now. It makes me realize how much like inspiration I got from people from home to do what I'm doing today.
That's so awesome. So what kind of advice would you give someone like yourself when you first started out, and you see a gift uh, an artist, and they don't know, they can't see that, see it in themselves? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think making sure that you're doing it because you still love it, because you love it, is a very important thing. Like when I got into music, I thought, like, oh, I'm gonna be this big rap star. I'm gonna, be world famous and this and like I wasn't even like rapping about the truth, or I wasn't even telling my own story. I was just making stuff up as I went. And I think, if you're starting out, it's important to find your own voice and know who you are as a person, and understand that you're probably gonna imitate some of your favorite artists for a little while, and that's okay. But don't, make sure that's you're not just being copying that person that you like. Make sure you're reflecting your genuine self. I think just being yourself is very important, and being honest about who you are and where you come from.
Good advice. Good words. How did you find out in your own being when you started writing your own stories and sharing it with the world? Like how did you, or I should say, when did you find your voice?
I feel like I found my voice probably around 2012, 2011 or 2012. So about 10 years ago, I really found my voice in what I'm doing. I was 27 years old. I went to my first sweat. Around that time, I was doing a program called NSI New Voices, and I went to a sweat with Colin Musso at that time, and it felt really, it opened my eyes to like Indigenous Anishinaabe culture, because I hadn't really experienced that growing up in a Christianized community, and that really helped me like open the door to recognize like some of the things about Anishinaabe culture that I find important today. Generosity and things like that. But yeah, I feel like I found my voice around that time because I was doing rap music before then. I was doing a lot of rap music, and I still do. But I was using a name Lorenzo. I felt like I needed to be somebody else in order to be successful. And around that time, I met one of my mentors, Doug Cox, who runs the Island Music Fest, and he helped me just to like when we were putting my first album together. He said, you should really consider using your real name, and just because like if you go to a festival and stuff like that, people will know who you are and where you're from, and you won't have to be known as some sort of moniker. And I was like, yeah, I'll consider that. And then I remember I did a gig in Little Black River, and they hired me as Lorenzo because I used to use the name Lorenzo as a rapper. And when I kind of got there, somebody said, "Oh, I was expecting an Italian guy." It's just like, maybe I should start using my real name. I think that's good advice. So, yeah. But yeah, like that's like it's just that's how I started out, and finding my own voice. Like was just kind of actually just going back to my own identity. Like just being who I am. And that started to reflect a lot more in my music after once I dropped the moniker and just allowed myself to not think that I need to be somebody else in order to be successful.
That's right. And you are successful. So with that, I'm going to give you the screen so you could sing us your first piece.
Okay. They just go back to wherever from they came. Funny thought, if you ask me, I'd probably say the same. Cause even if I'm standing with a bottle or a feather, it doesn't seem to matter. I'm a father, not a brother. And yes, I see the differences. Somehow I come to live with it. I understand injustices, recognizing limits us. So depressing all the thoughts I get, traveling through this rotten mess created by the government. Its purpose was to make me less. Somehow I feel it's on success, so naturally I challenge it. But it's not about destruction, It's about finding ways of balancing. Funny rules tackle me. Took the land and sold it back to me. Degrees of irony. Yearn to be part of your faculty. But I'm not a 6'1" Indian. I'm an Indian that's 6'1". This wasn't your days. I've been carrying a 6-gun, running with the rebels. Who all became resistance. The ones who never sighed. Cause the land is our existence. Somewhere beyond the distance. There are answers if you listen. Kinigo is what they say. The choice is your decision. So give me your blankets. I ain't talking about a penitent. You can hide all the truth as a punishment. And I can hide all the wounds that I'm covered in. We can pretend this all was a covenant. Swing low, sweet chariot, come for to carry me home. I didn't come today to sing a beautiful song. I came to explain some things I envisioned went wrong. It started with division, indecisions made out of lodge. Didn't listen to the women who've been given the song. Balancing the life walk, showing how we belong. In a world that keeps spinning into turbulent zones. But it's with the devil gods worshiping thrones. Like they were any better. Cause they're wearing a crown now. I used to feel like I was walking alone. Looking for a reason I was put on the road. Thinking that I needed what was already gone. Believing that the spirit world was where I belong. But somebody told me that I gotta be strong. For the ones who came before, the ones yet to come. So here I go, why you chose to carry the load. Waiting on your sweet voices to carry me home. Look to the red, what did I see? Group of angels coming after me. Coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home. And if you get there before I do, tell all my friends I'm coming too. Coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot. Coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot. Coming for to carry me home. Get me in blankets, I ain't talking about Hamilton. You can hide all the truth as a punishment. I can hide all the wounds that I'm covered in. We can pretend this all was a covenant. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low.
Hey, thanks for sharing that song. That was awesome. A Facebook user says, "Good evening to both of you. Yes, I can listen and relax now." Thank you for tuning in. So I just want to share with the audience tuning in that we both attended Planet Indigenous in Toronto a few years ago, and we went and watched one of your. We all supported each other, and we went to watch one of your concert at the time, and you put on a really great show, and you just commanded the stage, and the audience there was just like a pin could have dropped. It was so quiet, and they were just, you could just tell they were listening to the words that you were performing. And I remember the one song that you sang about your uncle. It just made me cry. It was such a beautiful song, uncle that you lost. Mm-hmm. And then the end of your performance, you got a standing ovation. And it was so, like, I was so proud of you when I got to witness that. And it was such, and you could just feel the energy in the room of how you moved them. You moved all of us, and that's such a powerful thing for a musician to do. And when you own it, when you control an audience like that, and make them feel really good inside, and your music was so, like I said, the lyrics of your songs were so powerful, and the way you delivered it to the audience was it was such a great show. So I just wanted to let you know that how you made me feel that time when you did that show, and then I'm sure you do that with all your shows when you travel the world. Which brings me to my next question. I know you said you toured the world, and one of the places you went to, I think more than once, was Australia. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I've been to Australia about 5 or 6 times now, I think. And every time it's been a little bit different. Like sometimes I was going there for conferences, sometimes I was going there specifically just for music festivals, and then I toured there with a tribe called Red back in the day. It's yeah, I have people in Australia that like I consider family, especially my drummer Julian Belbashir. Like he's a brother to me. He came to my wedding in 2019. Like he flew from
Mhm.
he was in Canada. I flew him from Toronto to Winnipeg just so he could be at my wedding, and like I flew him out from Sydney to Winnipeg when I was recording my album Standing in the Light to like so like I have connections with people in Australia that are very tight, and yeah, it's kind of like it's interesting because the history of Australia is very similar to the history of Canada, especially the relationship with Indigenous people and colonization. And so a lot of the words and stories that I say over there relate to the people, the aunties and the uncles, like are often sometimes in tears too at the end of some of my shows. And so it was interesting to see how like to make a connection through, unfortunately, through trauma, but also to feel empowered by somebody that's speaking out and saying important things that our people need to hear. And yeah, so Australia is like I love it there. The last time I went, honestly, the flight really took a lot out of me. Being in an airplane for 14 to 16 hours is not an easy thing to do. And then being jet lagged when you get back home, you're messed up for like a week. You're falling asleep for 3 hours at 2 p.m. Just randomly falling asleep. But they don't have a lot of COVID over there right now, so I'm thinking of going back in the winter if things are still bad here, and if my wife and I have both received our shots, we're thinking of going to Australia and spending some time over there. Yeah, I love it.
That's so awesome. I totally understand that. I've been to Australia twice, and in my travels, I've made some family too, and we're just waiting for COVID to leave this world so I could go back and perform over there again. And it's always been a great experience. And yeah, that plane ride is pretty brutal. The jet lag. And when I go, I'm gonna go for a longer period because it seems like when I just get over jet lag, I'm already coming back home and then going through that experience again.
Yeah, I would say stay like I think I stayed there for 3 weeks was the longest, and like you
Yeah,
start to just your circadian rhythm starts to get used to being in Australia, so you can enjoy your time a little bit more because usually for us it's one gig or two gigs and then we're coming back home, and I don't think
right.
it's worth it to spend that much time in a plane to go somewhere for 5 days. I
Yeah,
just don't really believe in that.
that's so true. Yeah, and that's what I'm gonna plan to do. I'm gonna stay there for. I'm actually planning to go. I got invited to two festivals, so when I go for each one, I'm gonna stay like a month for sure,
Yeah,
and then try and use my gig I'm invited to as an anchor, and then go do other gigs around the surrounding areas.
I
So
got
that's
some
what I'm.
I got
Yeah.
some connections there if you need to know some people.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would
I
be
don't have
so
a
awesome.
lot, but like I have a few people that you can contact, and
Yeah,
just
and
have
I'll share mine with you as well. I'll share
good.
my connections with you as well. So that brings me to my next question about I seen your career just rise, and it doesn't happen like that overnight, and it requires a lot of hustling and working and self promotion. So can you speak about that?
I've yeah, doing music independently. What I realize now that I'm older is you're not really in the music business; you're in the marketing business, and I've never been really good at the marketing business. So I feel like a lot of people might have gauged my success differently than I have. Like my idea of success was to be able to make my living and not have to worry about money, through music, and I've been able to do that. But I feel like a lot of people judge your success on an industry standard, which is not really what I ever aimed to be. Ever since like I started doing my music more grassroots approach, the industry standard of success is not something that I'm really interested in. Where that being like you go on TV or you do this, you do that, you hit these benchmarks, you have to sell X amount. That's not really my idea of success. My idea of success is to just make the music that I want to make and release it, and be able to make a living off of it. And that's kind of where I've been pushing myself lately, because I've been a little bit before the pandemic. I was getting overwhelmed with music, as far as trying to be my own booking agent and be my own label and be this, and it's a lot of work. I was doing the work of 6 people myself, and I was starting to get burnt out. But now that I've had some time to to stop touring, I've kind of realized like, okay, I think I want to just focus more on making music again, and allow my creative energy to flow again. Because sometimes you bottle it up when you're on the road. You're not working on anything new, but you're gaining new experiences. And
Great.
yeah, that's kind of like where I've been lately. And I'm just trying to figure out more ways to to have more revenue streams through the music, rather than trying to go out and tour, because that's not a reality for us right now to be on the road.
That's right. Yeah. So you just released a new album on March 3rd. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the album's called Thunderbird. It was produced by David Hodges. He runs the Norwegian program out of Montreal. But before he ran that, he produced my very first EP called Res Poetry. I bought beats off of him on SoundClick about 13 years ago, and I recorded an EP on my own using his beats, and that's kind of what I launched my career with. And so it's kind of funny how our lives coincided. Like last year, his wife had their first baby, or not last year, 2019. His wife had their first baby in I believe December, and we worked on the album in November. So his wife was 8 months pregnant while we were working on the album, and they had their first baby, and then my baby was born in March. And the album is kind of talks about a lot of grief. And I lost my mom in 2019, and that really was a big blow to me. Like she was like my biggest supporter and my number one fan. And like it was really difficult to even want to do anything after losing my mom. But I needed a space to put my energy. And I was in bed with my wife in the morning. One morning, I said, you know what, I'm going to make an album. It's going to be called Thunderbird, because my mom's Anishinaabe name was Adawe Benethi, which is a brown or a yellow thunderbird. I said, it's going to be called Thunderbird, and these are the songs I'm going to put on there. And I put down about 7 or 8 songs. Yeah, I never wrote any of them. And then eventually I started writing and writing and writing, and not all of those songs that I wrote down on that list made the album, but I did eventually get 8 songs together that I felt like never had a home on any of my other projects, and then some brand new songs. And so it was kind of a little bit of something old, something new, you know what I mean? And put them together. And then I reached out to David and to see if he wanted to produce the album, and he said, yeah. So I flew out to Montreal, and we worked on the album over 4 days in Montreal. The first 2 days we recorded in a hotel room, because there was a big ice storm there and he didn't have power at his house. So we had to set up the studio inside a hotel room that I booked. And then I came home. I got Sonia Ides to record some backup vocals. I recorded them here in my basement in Winnipeg. And then we sent the album to be mastered by Mike Bosey, who's like a West Coast hip hop legend, the engineering legend. Like he worked for Dr. Dre and Tupac and Kendrick Lamar. So he's the one who mastered my album, and it sounds really crisp. It sounds really nice, and it's a hip hop R&B album. It's available on all the streaming platforms right now.
That's awesome. So you want to sing your final song?
Yeah, I'm actually because it's a Red Dress Day. I thought it might be appropriate to speak about missing and murdered Indigenous women, and I have some poetry that is aligned with that. So I'll perform these last 2 pieces, and they're tied together. as the knowledge that I've heard along the road is whatever happens to the water happens to the women, and whatever happens to the people, whatever happens to the land happens to the people. And so that these two poems are about those things and how they interconnect. And the first one is called My Observation, and that goes into a second one called Fire to the Water. I could never imagine the pain in a mother's heart when life takes a turn for the worse and creator's art becomes another canvas that will never be completed. I'm a few degrees away and 1,000 times defeated. My energy's depleted, but I want to stand and fight, swinging with the spirits that have traveled back into the light. I feel the tears and depression, fears and aggression, woven in society from years of oppression. The violence is normalized, silence is horrifying, truth is denied, and the fact is that more are dying. You don't have to tell me how you feel, because I could see it in your eyes, and they don't have to prove to me that the pain is real, because I could hear it in their cries. Well, it's the type of heartbreak that takes more than tears and time to stitch up any wounds and heal the scars that leave behind. It's separation from the fam, segregation on the land. It was all part of the plan, and the blood is on their hands. It's all divide and conquer, colonize and slaughter, stabbing at the heart through the backs of our grandfathers. Now we see our daughters that are disappearing quickly. Say it's through the cracks while ignoring all the history. Governments were scooping babies way before the 60s. When you legalize abduction, you legalize the misery. So now you see the mystery is really not too complicated. Justice isn't equally distributed. My observation, money to be made while the kids are steady oscillating. Split it up a family has now become an occupation. And it's been part of the occupation since residential schools and forced starvation. It's a nation with racism here since the start of it. Hard to let go because it's carved in the heart of it. Relation to the land and our eyes were a part of it. Roots where I stand, I could never depart from it. They're telling me to let it go. They're telling me to let it go. The past is in the past. It's up to forget about the bad times to have. Well, it's that attitude that brought us to exactly where we are. Spitting tires in the mud, allowing fracking in the yard. Set fire to the water. We don't need any more. Poison all the medicines. We don't deserve a cure. It's all about the dollar and monetary gain. So we you win the treaties from the oceans to the plains. And that's what they telling us. The media is selling us stories of protectors that are protecting rebellious, protecting private sector. Stealing story, it's insidious. Girls to ahead, they won't be happy till they're rid of us. So how am I only sleep at night? Growing up and giving light. Post-traumatic stress and rest while violating treaty rights. So tell me how this differs from starving out the West. Moving out the Indians, they never know what's best. But I ain't saying follow me by product of the colony. Speaking English on a beat, ignoring all the irony. Struggle with identity for most of my adulthood. I ain't saying this for the sake of trying to sound good. It's promoting honesty, it has become an anomaly. On a mission, honestly, how do I say this honorably? Solemnly, I swear to give the best of my abilities. Foolishly, I care about the people and their liberties. Set fire to the water, we don't need any more. There's no medicines, we don't deserve a cure. It's all about the dollar and the monetary gain. So forget you in the treaties from the oceans to the plains.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah,
So
sometimes like I haven't been on stage in so long, and like I really like I'm not used to still performing in front of just the camera because like when you're on stage, like you can go to a different place, you know, you're like you're there, but you're traveling, and you can get there with the camera too. But at the same time, it kind of feels weird because typically you get the feedback of the energy of the crowd and the people, and that's super powerful in person, you know. And that's what I miss most about all of this is that ability. Like even I'm not so much of a people person, but when I'm performing, I just love the reciprocal energy that I give out and get back. It's just like it's breathing. The music just makes the room breathe in a certain way, and I really miss that being able to do that in a room full of people, you know.
Yeah, it's, I totally get what you're saying, and yeah, when I first did an online show, I was just really more nervous than performing in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna read some of the comments that are coming in. B.L. Montine said, "What a fantastic way to honor your mom's memory." Aaron Brown says, "Awesome." Kim Stafford, much love from Kimmy from the radio station in Ontario. Mary Grimm says, "Wow, your words are so powerful." And a Facebook user says, "So glad I listened, and I just love your songs with great messages. Many, many blessings." And B.L. Montine said, "My head was just bopping and my feet were just tapping."
Yeah.
But yeah, you could. People can actually feel the energy that you're emanating, even though we, as musicians, we don't feel that that feedback. But I'm seeing from the comments, they're feeling the energy that you're emanating when you're playing. So it takes some used to, because we are in a new normal right now. And I just want to thank you for being on my 77th show, and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom on your in with your music, and your the beautiful words that you have in your lyrics, and your singing. You have such a great stage presence, and it's very strong, and I'm sure the audience can feel it. And I just want to thank you for being part of my show.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, Rhonda, and then like for introducing me to the people that watch your show. Thank you all for watching wherever you're watching from. And yeah, if you need me anytime, you just ask me.
Okay, for sure. I'll keep you. I'll be contacting you for sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
And B.I. Monkeen said it would be awesome for you and Rhonda to sing together. Hey, that would be awesome. Is right.
That'd be
And
nice.
other Facebook user says Leonard makes our community what is crowd, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to watch him perform tonight. And Aaron Brown says absolutely. Facebook user said they're proud of you, and Mary Graham says great show.
Right
So
on.
I want to thank you again for being part of the show. I want to let the audience know that to go and subscribe to my Apple Music podcast for Indigenous Superstars, or the Spotify podcast, and you can listen to past interviews that I've done. And my next week's guest is Kia Loa. She's a very good friend of mine that I met at the Banff Center from Hawaii, and she's a great percussionist. So I'm really looking forward to interviewing her next week. And with that, stay safe, stay healthy, and Kisagi Tin. Eguse.
Tune in again next time when Rhonda interviews another up-and-coming Indigenous superstar. Only on Indigenous Superstar.